The ocean is a very majestic and at the same time dangerous place. Who knows what its depths hide? How many sailors who went to explore its expanses never returned to land? One of the dangers that many, even the most experienced sailors, are afraid of is ghost ships, because meeting with them usually does not bode well. In this video, Top F will tell the stories of 5 famous ghost ships. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to catch all new releases. All aboard! We start. Pirate ship Young Teaser. Mahone Bay is located on the Atlantic coast of Canada. Nearby is a small town with the same name. The inhabitants of this town keep an old legend about a pirate ship and its ghost that appears on moonlit nights from year to year. And this story began back in 1813, during the Second War of Independence of the United States. The American privateer ship Young Teaser traded in these waters and caused considerable damage to the commercial transport of Britain. But as you know, the age of a pirate is short-lived, and sooner or later luck will still turn away from a corsair. And so it happened one of the summer nights. 2 British warships with a large number of guns and soldiers on board drove a privateer schooner into the bay and forced the crew to surrender. Captured pirates, as you know, have only one end, and, of course, they were not going to give up. The British boarding team sailing on the boats saw a man with a torch on board the pirate ship, who descended into the hold, and after that, an explosion thundered. The ship, engulfed in flames, sank. But the story didn't end there. Exactly 1 year later, the fishermen saw the schooner in flames. After a while, the vision disappeared. Since then, the appearance of the ghost ship has become a regular occurrence. It was seen by fishermen and people from the shore of the bay. When trying to approach the ship in boats, the pirate ship disappeared. Perhaps the pirates were punished for their cruelty, and the sky punished them. Now they are tied to this place and are waiting for forgiveness for their sins. The unsinkable Alta. It is hard to imagine that in our age of satellites, computers, and other high technologies, something can go unnoticed. But the fact remains. Most recently, namely, in February 2020, the ocean returned the ship, which was considered dead for 2 years. The ship, called MV Alta, had a difficult fate. He changed names and ports of registry around the world. On her last voyage under the flag of Tanzania, the ship broke down in the ocean. Since it was not possible to repair the ship in the open ocean, the team was evaluated, and they tried to take the ship in tow, but bad weather intervened. With a strong storm, this was not possible and the ship was abandoned. The ship was tracked for some time, then it disappeared from the radar, and this could mean that the ship sank. They forgot about him. And now, 2 years later, during a severe storm, MV Alta has washed ashore in Ireland. The ship was examined for the possibility of harming the environment, but nothing but a certain amount of water in the holds and fuel residues in the tanks were found. At the moment, the ship lies on the coastal rocks, which makes it difficult to access it. Local authorities promised to dispose of the ship, which is in a deplorable state. Experts suggest that the ship drifted past the coast of both the Americas and Africa for 2 years. The final destination of the ship was Ireland. It is surprising that for 2 years the ship MV Alta remained alone in the ocean, unnoticed by anyone, and all this time the ocean did not accept it. Bark Copenhagen. The ship Copenhagen was built in 1921 at one of the shipyards in Scotland. It was a sailing ship, also equipped with a diesel engine to drive the propeller. The ship's power station, radio station, and other technical innovations of that time were present on the ship. It was supposed to use the sailboat as a cargo and at the same time a training vessel. This continued until 1928, when Copenhagen, with a crew of 16 and 45 cadets on board, set off on its last voyage. Having sailed from the coast of Argentina, the ship never arrived on the coast of Australia. After some time, it became clear that trouble had happened to the ship. The last to contact Copenhagen at the end of December were several ships in the South Atlantic Ocean. Further silence. Several ships were sent to search, to pass the possible route of Copenhagen with a call to the nearby islands. The rescue expedition was unsuccessful. The commission that met on this occasion declared the ship dead. In 1935, 7 skeletons in the form of Danish naval cadets were discovered in the Nimbus Desert. Most likely, these are sailors from the wrecked Copenhagen who escaped on one of the boats. Unfortunately, the waterless desert could not help them survive. In 1959, the captain of the Straatmagel's merchant ship, while off the coast of Africa, met Copenhagen, rushing at full sail, and barely avoided a collision. Apparently, this is how the story of another ghost ship began. Seabird. In the 1750s, Seabird was a trading brig commanded by John Huxham. A merchant ship ran aground in the Rhode Island area of Easton Beach. The crew disappeared to no one knows whether the ship was abandoned by them without any explanation, and the lifeboats were missing. It was reported that the ship was returning from a voyage from Honduras, carrying goods from the southern hemisphere to the northern, and was expected to arrive in the city of Newport. Upon further investigation, coffee was found boiling on the stove on the derelict ship. The only living creatures that were found on board were a cat and a dog. The crew mysteriously disappeared. A recount of the ship's history was recorded in Wilmington, Delaware, and made the news of the Sunday Morning Star in 1885. There are different versions of what happened. So, for example, the opinion was expressed that the crew of the Seabird independently left the ship due to distress. Perhaps they were picked up by another ship. As a rationale, cases of abandoning a ship in distress, which did not sink for a long time, were cited. So, for example, in March 1888, a leak appeared in the hold of the American schooner William White. The crew was unable to fix the problem and was picked up by a passing ship. But the William White did not sink. For a long time, he misled other ships with his inverted flag, a distress signal. The sailboat was thrown onto the rocks only after 10 months. The same story happened in 1895 with the ship Alma Cummings, which wandered the seas, abandoned by the crew, for more than a year and a half. But the schooner Star plowed the ocean for the longest time without a crew. The crew left her in June 1893 with a broken bottom on the reefs of Midway Island. Reports soon began to come in that the ship was seen sailing in full sail. Star was found only in the summer of 1896, near the same island of Midway. All 3 ships were loaded with timber, as was the Seabird. This explanation seems logical enough, but it does not answer the main questions. How did the crew leave the ship, and why is nothing known about the crew? The version about the impact of infrasound looks interesting. Academician Schleichen in 1953 told the world about the theory of the appearance of infrasonic oscillations in the ocean. He argued that even a small storm under certain conditions can generate infrasonic waves. At the same time, it is known that infrasound of a certain frequency can cause people to feel sadness and hopelessness, provoke bouts of insanity, and even lead to death. Also, mechanical resonance is not ruled out, leading to the breakage of the ship's masts, which is not uncommon for ghost ships. It is possible that the Seabird's crew was exposed to infrasound of an unusual frequency, which led to the suicide of the crew. Perhaps, in the future, the achievements of science will make it possible to unravel the mystery of the sailboat. Cruiser USS Salem. While it was serving as the flagship of the U.S. Mediterranean Fleet, a strong earthquake devastated the Greek-owned Ionian Islands. It happened in 1953. British, U.S. and Israeli warships immediately went to help. USS Salem was the first American ship to arrive there at the time. A lot of victims were then taken on board. Not everyone was saved. 150 to 170 of them died on board in 6 weeks. Perhaps it was their emotions that caused paranormal activity. So, they say that on Salem they met the ghost of a woman, as well as a boy speaking Greek, and sometimes they even heard a dog barking. Of course, there are no dogs on Salem now, but at that time some of the victims were taken on board along with their pets. It is claimed that paranormal activity was observed in the officer's wardroom, in the surgical room, and the dentist's office. Now the ship has been turned into a museum. The museum is closed for the winter, but at other times there are guided tours on board, and ghost hunters are frequent guests there. That's all for today. Thanks for watching the video to the end. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. See you soon. Bye.